The black church is a hot, debated topic in the black community. We talk about this everywhere we go, whether it be on YouTube, Facebook, blogs, comment sections, at barbershops, in person, family reunions, get-togethers on the phone. We talk about the dismay and the problems of the black church. Whether you believe in God or not, you could be atheist, you could be Hotep, you could be a Muslim. But one of the things we understand is the importance of the black church to the black community. And nobody would deny that the black church had a purpose. It brought black people together. Agendas and civil rights issues and things were formulated in the black church. People did business and built communities and got married within the church. It was a good part of the community which kept together. But now people say the black church is dead. It's done for. There's a problem there that can't be fixed. And people try to associate a timeline as to when it happened. At this date is when the black church died. This is the time when the black church died. And people have a lot of good theories and speculations, but I have my own. And it's very simple. You may agree or disagree, but when did the black church die? I can tell you to my account when it happened, and the answer is very simple. When the choir stopped marching in. Now, you probably sitting there like, nigga, what are you talking about? That don't make any sense, but just hear me out. When the choir stopped marching in, that is when the black church died. Let me give you a story of what I mean. I went to a church, I won't call the name of it, but it was a prestigious church in the Sacramento metropolitan area. And we had a pastor who was great in the community. He is now passed. But he kept these people together. A lot of people came from military bases in Sacramento. We had a very big one called McClellan. And a lot of people attended this particular church. And this particular church had what was known as a great choir. Okay. And the choir is something that's important. Now, whether it was great or not is something important. But in many black churches, it represented the processional in the beginning of the service. And that meant before church service started, the choir marched in. And this is something that is unique to black churches. A lot of white churches don't do this, but the black church is known for the choir marching in before service, right before service starts. Or they do it before service, or they do it after the devotion. The choir is all outside and everybody's excited, got their robes on. And when the choir march in, everybody stands up. You hear Highway to Heaven. You hear Jesus Will Work It Out. Something like that, kind of fast, medium paced, and people walk in on beat. To the side, you know how they be doing. I mean, there was one Deacon Boatwright. I remember one time I was I was talking to somebody in church. He was so good, he could step to the side and slap you and get back in the beat. I've never seen nobody else do that. Shout out to Deacon Boatwright. I don't know if he's still living, but he did that. He could slap you while marching in the church. That's how talented Brothers God became in the church. And people would be excited because the church represented unity when the black church walked in. It represented that black people could do something and look professional. Everybody loved this. Even now, if they do a BET award show and the choir march in, people will get excited. This is part of our culture. But when we got a new pastor, Reverend Shine, I'll call him that as his name. Shout out to David Carroll. Reverend Shine stopped this black church from marching in that I went to. And he wanted to have the choir marched in. He wanted the choir to be in the choir stand before church started. Now, this created a lot of arguments in the church. Why would he stop that? We have a history of the choir marching in, but they let him get away with it. And what we found out was something interesting. A lot of churches, black churches around America, had stopped their choirs from marching in. And one of the reasons why is because the pastor wanted it. And the pastor wanted this to happen because the pastor wanted more attention on him during the church service than throughout. Guys who are in the Black Baptist Church of God in Christ, you guys know how this be. In the old school ways of the black church, the pastor don't come out to his pulpit until about an hour into the service. He's in the pastor's study. I don't know if he's drinking Hennessy or he reviewing some notes, but the pastor don't come to the pulpit until about altar call time, and he only speaks during the sermon, and that's it. The other parts of the church is carrying the service. The people who read the announcements. You got the people who doing the altar call. That's another preacher. You got the people who are doing the devotion, the deacons or the praise team. The pastor isn't involved until it's time to preach. But now in the black church, when the choir stopped marching in, the preacher is up there all service. In many cases, talking throughout the service. Up there running his mouth. After announcements, running his mouth. Wanting to be seen and wanting to be heard. And what happens at that point is the pastor is exerting his dominance over all of the boards over the church, over the choir, over the deacon board, over the deaconess board, over all the auxiliaries, the ushers. In other words, to say, this is my church. This is no longer the community's church. Because, see, when the choir marched in, that represented the community. It represented all the people coming into the church. It's a group effort at that time. But the pastor wanted to be bigger than the church. He wanted the ministries to be bigger. And once that happened, everybody else in the church died and the pastor elevated. And when it became more about the preacher, then it became about the message. It became about Jesus. It became an all eyes on him affair. That is when the black church died. That is when the deacons lost their power. Because the pastor started having the mic throughout the whole service, and he started swaying everybody. Because he who has the mic the most of the time has the power. And he used the pulpit to denigrate people that didn't agree with him, to turn on people, to abuse people, and to make himself look like God. Once that happened, that's when the black church died. And it died once the choir stopped marching in. That's when we died. Don't believe me? Go look back on your timelines. Think about it when you was a kid. Think about when the church was better, more organized. It's always been corrupt and messed up. We know that. But a little part of the church died when the choir stopped marching in. And these black pastors wanted more attention on themselves. They don't want the choir to have no attention. They don't want the deacons to have no attention. They don't want the community to have no attention. All the attention must be on them. I'll even tell you like this. The pastor don't even want Jesus to have no attention. That's why his picture is all up there on the wall. Him and his wife. It's the first thing. If you go to any hall of a church, the first thing you see is a big picture of him. It's his house. Go to the church website. That's him there. Not the choir. Not the community. But him. That's my interpretation. When the choir stopped marching in. Guys, let me know if you agree, disagree in the comment section. It's not for everybody. but it's for somebody. Brothers, thank you for coming to the channel. Subscribe, hit the bell, notify, all that good stuff. I really am grateful to be here. Really glad to be here. Really glad to be making this black content. But yeah, thank you for subscribing. Hit the bell if you're new. Subscribe, hit the notification bell. If you want to support me on Patreon, patreon.com/Negro Manosphere. We have many Patreon supporters support what we're doing. Black male media to me is important. And guys, as you know, the buffoonery remains at an all-time high. I'm out.